At the heart of every paddler beats a passion for water, competition, and conservation. This unique podcast aims to unite all the paddling styles and stories under one common heartbeat. This is the Paddler's Pulse.
Welcome back, paddle people! Whoop, whoop. I can see you in the back row bouncing. That's right. You are here for another edition of the Paddler's Pulse. My name is Greggy, and I am super stoked that you joined us today. Today, we've got an amazing episode. Oh, such a good conversation. Today is for you dragon boaters out there. That's right, we got some dragon boat action for you. I had a chance to sit down and chat with an amazing woman named Kristin who is the brains behind the operation Paddlechica, which is a fantastic blog dedicated to the sport of dragon boat. So she has so many fun stories, one of which, let's get ready to rumble! You're going to learn exactly why that phrase has a lot of power in today's conversation, so stay tuned for that. Also, Miss Kristin has done some amazing stuff. Spent some time in Costa Rica as a teacher, then turned to the sport of dragon boat, which took her all around the world. A little side note, she used to be a model for Gatorade and Rollerblade, and I totally embarrass her by talking about that, but it's a great story, and you're going to learn more about that. San Diego native, now lives in Canada. She's done so many great things. We met at the Long Beach Dragon Boat Festival in California, and I heard a story about paddling the Panama Canal, which completely enamored me. I was super, super stoked. So I reached out to her and she had a chance to sit down and share some of this great stuff. So today's episode dedicated to you dragon boaters out there. The wonderful woman behind the amazing blog Paddlechica. Her name is Kristin. And for some of you, this will be the first time you've heard her speak, which is super exciting. She has a great personality, wonderful energy, and we had a really, really good time. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Paddler's Pulse, Miss Kristin with Paddlechica. We're diving right in. All right, you guys, thank you again for joining us at another episode of the Paddler's Pulse. My name is Greggy, and I am super stoked to hang out with this cool chick that you guys are going to get to know with me. Her name is Kristin, and she started a blog called Paddlechica back in 2015, February of 2015, which gives light and beauty and grace and fun and joy to the dragon boat community. So welcome, Kristin.
Thanks. Glad to be here. Very excited about this.
You're joining us from where? Where are you at right now?
I am in Toronto, of all places.
Of all places.
Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
Yay.
So let's just dive right in. I want to know a little bit about you. First of all, how'd you get to Canada? But you were from San Diego, right? You're originally from
San Diego originally. I have a whole lot of California hippie girl in me.
Yeah, we were talking about what you had for breakfast. Tell everybody what you had for breakfast.
Right. I make my own muesli. That's so California granola chick. I love it. But yeah, make my own muesli. I'm into natural stuff. So that's my breakfast.
Yep, I can resonate with that. I'm kind of a hippie myself, so.
Excellent.
It's
Hippies
good.
Unite.
Hippies Unite. That's our new brand. That's our shirt. We're going to get shirts that say Hippies Unite.
Love it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit I want to know more about you. So from San Diego, but you moved around, and I kind of want to call you like a Renaissance woman because you've done so many. You've done so many fun stuff and so many fun things, and I want to hear a little bit more about them. So high school math teacher?
High school math teacher. I actually started out teaching third grade. I thought that I wanted to teach little ones because my mom teaches kindergarten.
Okay.
And she still does, believe it or not. She's 75 this year and still in the kindergarten classroom.
In San Diego, right?
Yeah, in La Jolla Country Day.
Oh, wow. How fun.
Yeah, she's awesome. So I thought I wanted to teach little kids. I started teaching third grade and I went, I like this, but not sure.
Okay.
This seems not quite it. I kind of worked my way up middle school and on up to high school once I found my passion for math in middle school.
Okay.
I stuck there for quite a while and then worked my way up to high school, and I love it. Math is really awesome.
Oh, that's super fun. Yeah, you're a self-proclaimed nerd.
Yeah. Guilty,
which is awesome.
I'm always talking about like angles and paddling and force and things like that. So
I guess you bring a lot of like technical understanding and then the ability to share that with people in a way that's understandable.
Yeah, I try. Maybe not always the understanding so much as the explanation of, hey, I hope this makes sense. And but I'm always talking about angles. Angles of your arm, angles of the blade, angles of the shaft, all that stuff. So
Okay, so we're diving right into paddling. I have to know how the sport of dragon boat found you.
Good question. So when I moved to Miami, actually, let's back up just a little bit. I grew up in California, San Diego, went to school at UCLA, grad school in Santa Barbara, and was always near the ocean.
Oh, you hit all the great coast. Yeah, that's...
Yes, I did. Indeed. Then I went to Costa Rica, and I taught in Costa Rica for 4 years. So
that's
again,
awesome.
On the ocean. Really enjoyed it. When I moved back to California...
Wait, in Costa Rica, you taught math? Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And then I moved back to California, and I was looking for a place that had a similar climate and culture to Costa Rica. I was really actually going through culture shock when I came back.
Really?
So I moved to Miami,
which
is the perfect place in terms of climate and culture.
Okay.
Similar to Costa Rica. So I was there, and I wanted to be out on the ocean all the time, but there's not much to be found in the way of waves in Miami.
Okay.
So I was a little disappointed in that sense. So I was looking for something fun to do on the ocean, and I came across an ad for my team. Back then, they advertised on Craigslist.
Really?
Under activities.
A dragon boat team advertised on Craigslist.
Right, looking for just, paddlers, people to join our team.
Oh, wow, how fun. Okay. What's the name of the team?
Yeah, the team is called Puff, as in like Puff the Magic Dragon.
I love it. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't sound overly fierce, but they're actually a good team. So.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. So you found them on Craigslist, and then?
Found them on Craigslist, and I was ecstatic that it was something, because Miami, it was interesting. Their activities section on Craigslist in Miami was more like hot women needed for massage tonight, rather than we need women for our baseball team or something that I was looking for, whatever. Yeah. So I found this and I went, oh my gosh, they're on the water and it's like seems legit and hey, let's go. I was too shy to go by myself. I'm not gonna lie. I was very shy, and I grabbed one of my colleagues who I didn't even know that well. And she was the swim coach at the school that I taught at. And I said, hey, let's go do this. This seems like fun. You're an active person. Come on, you're coming with me. So we went. And I am so glad that I took her, because she was hooked from the second. She was literally like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world.
Oh, wow.
And me, I was like a little bit, shall we say, less so. Like the first warm-up was 2.5 minutes long. And at the end of it, I literally thought to myself, oh, holy hell, people do this for fun. Everything hurt, and I could not imagine why people would do it.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit slower to get into the passion of it, shall we say. She was straight off the bat.
But she was hooked right off the bat. Okay.
She was hooked. And now the ironic thing is, so we both were there for the first kind of introductory training session with the team. Mm-hmm. And everyone on the team thought that she was going to be just this promising new paddler, and she was going to be amazing and all that. Within a month, they didn't see her again. She was gone.
Oh wow.
She was kind of one of those like fair weather paddlers of like, this is awesome now, and then I'm going to go here and do that. Whatever, fine. That worked for her.
The flame burnt fast. Okay.
Right. She was the one that got me thinking it was so amazing on that first day, when really every muscle in my body was telling me it was not so amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a theme among dragon boaters for sure that I've heard. Yeah, most people. We put a team together last year that it was all outrigger people and a couple of dragon boat, and they were like, "Wow, you've got to be kidding me!" Like the people, same thing. Like people do this. Like they were blasted because of it, but somehow it hooked you. So later you came back.
Yeah, I think her passion for it was contagious, which was definitely beneficial to me. And I think the team aspect of it hooked me. And I really feel like, I'm glad that you said, how did dragon boating find me? Because I find that a lot of people, when they're in a space in their life that they need a team for whatever reason, they tend to find dragon boating.
Interesting.
And we had a lot of people join the team after divorces or breakups or moves or whatever. There's certain personal things in your life that happen, and dragon boating finds you. So I like that you use that, since it's very apropos. So I think I was in a place in my life where I enjoyed the support of the team. I enjoyed the camaraderie. It was something that I was looking for and lacking, being new. Well, at that point I had lived in Miami for a little while, a couple years, I suppose, but I still didn't feel, my life at that point was very much home and school. Well, school being my work, teaching. And I didn't really have a life outside of that.
Oh, okay.
And so dragon boating provided that, because suddenly I had this amazing social network, this great team, and we were going to races. I was exploring parts of Florida that I hadn't been to. And it was just a really good social outlet, and it became a passion from that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that you kind of, I guess, extrapolate a little bit on the idea of having a sport find you. I think it's been very similar in other team sports, like outrigger and stuff, because that's how I found it. And not a lot of people know that, but I was at a place just like that in my life where I needed to engage a deeper layer of connectivity to the world around me, because I was kind of in my little space. What's great? If you get some time, grab a book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger, and it explains almost like on a historical and anthropological level why humans are designed for that. We got a little off topic there, but pick it up, because I think you would totally dig it, because it's exactly
Excellent.
that thought. Yeah. Okay, so dragon boat. So there you are. You're in Florida. You're diving into this new sport. Your friend has taken a hike already. Did she ever come back?
No, she disappeared. And like I said, she was more of just a colleague. I didn't really know her that well. And so I have no idea where she is now or what. No. At one point she told me, my dragon has gone silent.
My dragon has gone silent. Wow, that's interesting. So that kind of brings me to the next idea, which is you created this amazing blog called Paddlechica. And I'm wondering if she's ever found it, because that would be amazing. Wouldn't it?
Interesting connection there. I doubt it, because I don't think that she's paddling anymore at all.
Okay.
But who knows? I have no idea if she's out there. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for leading Kristin to this space, because now she has a massive impact because of it on other dragon boaters and other paddlers. So tell me about Paddlechica.
Wow. So I did not ever imagine myself being a blogger. In fact, in all honesty, about 3 years ago, I didn't even know what a blog really was. I had heard about it. I'd been somewhat introduced to it, but I didn't really know. I was lucky enough to learn about blogging because I was working for a friend of mine who was a photographer, and she taught me how to write blog posts because she needed her blog updated. So I was helping her with them.
Oh, got it.
And so I learned, the ins and outs, the basics of WordPress and how to, how to put photos in and all that fancy stuff. and I really learned it as a tool for storing information. And so while I was writing these blog posts for her, I had started coaching a breast cancer survivor team in Miami called Save Our Sisters, also known as SOS.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
And so as I'm coaching them, I'm noticing that they're just starving for information. They were so hungry for knowledge. After practice, they'd pull me aside individually and ask me questions. And quite often it was the same questions, just different people.
Okay.
And so my answer typically, I would answer them in person, but I'd also say, oh, you know what, I'll send out an email about that. That's a good question. You're not the only one with that question. I'll send out an email with it, with that information. Eventually it got to the point it was like, oh, can you send that email again? I lost it. I was like, okay, well, we need a better system. Let's figure out where we can store this information.
All of this, by the way, is the makings of a good teacher, obviously.
Oh,
these are like clearly, yeah. Okay, so
I was thinking, where can I store this information? And it dawned on me that a blog might be the best way to store it, so then they could access it any old time they wanted to, easily. Mm-hmm. I had absolutely no idea that it would become anything other than basically an online filing cabinet for the paddlers on my team to look back at things. So the first blog post I created was core exercises, because they were all asking about core exercises. So it's, what can you do to strengthen your core? That was blog number 1.
Got it.
And then blog number 2 was nutrition information, and it has my muesli recipe in case you're interested.
Okay, I'm gonna go get that.
And blog number 3 was core exercises part 2. So I was just basic stuff that they were asking about.
Yeah, just like you said.
Blog number 4 was how to be an expert paddler. And that went worldwide. And I was looking at the stats, and I was like, oh my God, there's people in Australia reading this. There's people in Italy reading this. There's people in France. There's people in Canada. There's people like everywhere. Like, whoa, it completely blew my mind.
How did that feel?
It was shocking because I thought I'm just one little coach in Florida who was just trying to get information to this group of maybe 40 women. And suddenly more than these 40 women are reading this. This is interesting. You know, I had no idea that it would be of interest to anyone, let alone make an impact on people. So it was kind of neat. It shocked me, definitely. I was not prepared at all for it.
But what a fun thing.
I'm really grateful that I named the blog something that was fun and not something that was like stupid, you know, like Coach Kristin or something. I don't know. I can't think of an example, but I think you know what I mean. Like,
I think I know what you mean, yeah.
A fun name that could kind of translate well and just catch on. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
So once I realized that I was maybe onto something, I was like, okay, well, I'm still enjoying writing for my ladies, the breast cancer survivor team.
Right.
And I really just continued with them in mind, and I continued with their questions in mind. And their questions were always the basis of my blog posts. Always.
Oh, okay.
So we'd have a discussion about something on the boat, and I'd say, okay, I'm writing a blog post about that. You know, for example, one of the ones I laugh about is the blog post on butt blisters, because we all get them.
We all get them. Any paddler right now. Yeah, but nobody really talks about that. A moment of silence for all of those butt blisters.
Oh. Yes.
So what was that? What was that like?
So I'm sorry. What?
What was that like? Not the butt. The
That's what I thought you were asking.
No, the post itself.
Okay, right. Well, the post was more of just the acknowledgement that yes, you are likely to get them in your paddling career if you are paddling correctly, and here's what we do about them. And I gave some suggestions, and then other people wrote in with their suggestions, and you know, depending on their region, what was available and what was recommended. So it was actually very informative for me too, because that's a good idea. I've never thought of that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So you know, nobody wants to talk about their rear, but it's important.
But it's part of the game. Yeah. Oh wow, exactly. How fun. So, of your blog posts, what's been the one that's like the most popular?
Ooh, well, most popular depends on how you're going to define that, honestly.
Okay, define them both.
I have some that have the most views.
Okay.
But those are often because of being controversial.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The most controversial one that I wrote was titled "Every Seat Counts," and it was talking about how, you know, you're on a boat of 20. There is no bad seat, if you will, and I'm saying that with air quotes that absolutely no one can see. I realize that.
Yeah, so she has air quotes up, guys. There is no bad seat.
Around the bad seat, yes. But people were very passionate about that blog post in particular. I think some of the information that I shared, they maybe didn't agree with or did agree with it, and I think it was their own personal experience as well, whether as a coach or as a paddler. You know, often we put the newer paddlers in the back so they can, well, for many reasons. One, so that they can watch what's going on and kind of get a feel for the boat and see what their body movements should look like by looking at people in front of them. And also, you know, if they maybe have timing issues, they'll sit towards the back so that they're not interrupting anyone else in the front.
Yeah.
But that's not a race boat.
Right. On
a race boat, every seat is important. And you're not putting new paddlers back there just to watch. You know, they're not out for a sightseeing cruise. It's a race boat. Mm-hmm. So my point on the post was about how, you know, don't disregard seats 9 and 10. They have value, as a lot of teams call it, the rockets. They're in the back, and they have to deal with that messy, disgusting water that comes from everyone else's paddle.
I've never heard the term "the rockets." Explain that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't use it myself. I've just heard people call it that, and I like that because there's something about maybe rocket boosters, rocket launchers of that sort. I think I actually did use it. I may have used that term in the post because other people have called it that. Yeah. Anyhow, it's a good one. But point being is seats 9 and 10 are not the back seat of a cab.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, and just to know for sure, take those 2 seats out entirely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with like, with outrigger. Take seat 5 out, in a 10 or 12 or 15, 20 mile race. You know it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they're all important. I agree with that
So
entirely.
it was just a post about that, and there was an awful lot of back and forth about the accuracy of that information. And, people can read into things whatever they want,
sure.
and take it to whatever level they want. And I think that there was a bit of controversy about it. It got posted on Dragon Boat Forum, and there was a huge amount of arguing back and forth about it.
Interesting.
But I think
I said interesting. It just goes to show that people are passionate about portions of the sport.
Right. Very true. Very true. And another controversial one was I wrote about ringers and the debate about whether teams should or should not be using so-called ringers. Again, with the air quotes, the so-called ringers.
Okay, what's a ringer real quick?
Well, that was the focus of that was basically that if your team has decided to be competitive, and in dragon boating you need 20 paddlers, quite often you need a few more because you need to have spares or subs. That's a lot of people, and you maybe only have 19 people that are race ready. Okay. So you may call upon someone from another club to race with your team in order to help your team to be competitive.
Got it. Okay.
So the debate being, do you use a paddler who's not ready to race, who's newer, who has, maybe doesn't have the endurance, the strength, the whatever capabilities to sit in that race seat, or do you uphold your team's mission of being competitive and take only a very competitive boat? So
got it.
Again,
okay.
Another controversial topic.
Yeah, totally. Wow, how fun. And okay, so some good posts, a little controversial, a little heavy. What's like one of the more lighter? What's one of the more fun, engaging, weird, lighter?
Let's see. Well, I wrote one that was more just for fun on a Friday that just kind of came to me. I actually originally, years ago, wanted to write a book about dragon boating. It was not informational at all in nature. It was just
story?
About, no.
Oh.
It was about all the things that we say in dragon boating that can be completely misconstrued and sound really dirty but aren't.
Yeah, give me an example.
Oh, gosh.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, right?
Hey, if you were going to write the book, you are red.
Yeah, right? Well, don't pull out so late, you're getting me wet.
That's horrible. Okay.
Grab the shaft a little harder, or don't hold the shaft so hard. Slide your hand down on the shaft. All kinds of things.
Yeah, so anybody listening right now who paddles gets all of that, by the way.
Exactly. Thank God, right?
Because we've all done it at some level. Sure. Okay, that's super fun.
So that was probably the post that was just the most fun, lighthearted, nothing, no serious brain taxing information or anything like that.
Sure. Oh man. So I want to back up a little bit and park kind of in a space where, Dragon Boat, as I've seen it for a lot of people, has been an incredible vehicle for meeting other people, meeting other groups, going to other parts of the world. Like, where has it taken you from an adventure standpoint?
Wow. I've been so lucky to travel and to explore, and dragon boating's really, it's been so helpful for that. You're absolutely right. My first adventure, if you will, was I was just going to visit a friend of mine in Wales. I looked for a local team, thank God for the internet.
Sure.
I did a little Google search and found the Bristol Empire Dragons, and they were absolutely willing to take me on board for one of their training sessions. Now, mind you, this was in December.
Oh, wow.
In England. Burr. I was freezing.
So it was probably really warm. So much like Florida. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was dying. They were so nice. They outfitted me. They brought me like 12 pairs of booties to wear all at once and all kinds of stuff. They were so much fun. So that was my first time paddling with another team and in another country, which was really neat. And that kind of got me thinking to how welcoming paddlers are in general. It's just a culture that I think everyone kind of connects on that paddling level and wants to be welcomed. Yeah. Yeah,
there is a much deeper level of tribe in all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So then I started traveling for races, and I've been to Hong Kong, raced in Hong Kong twice. That was my first international race, I think. Yeah, it was Hong Kong. Raced in Malaysia. It was amazing. I raced with the U.S. national team in Hungary, and that's a beautiful, beautiful race venue in Szeged.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Raced where else? I've practiced with the American Dragons in Singapore. That was really neat. I happened to be in Singapore and looked up the team and found that their practice schedule worked, and they were willing to take us on board. Same thing with the team in Beijing. When I was in Beijing, I contacted a team and was lucky enough to go out with them.
Oh man, that's amazing.
So yeah, a lot of really neat adventures around the world. I raced in Italy as well. That was a lot of fun.
You know, it's interesting. I know a little bit about Dragon Boat, but as I'm hearing this, I guess I wasn't as aware that it's everywhere.
It seems to be everywhere.
Yeah, and that's really cool. So you got to travel. You had told me kind of when you and I met was at it was up in Long Beach.
Mm-hmm. The Long Beach race.
Yeah, had the greatest chat, and you had started to tell me about one of your travels you had done, not Dragon Boat, but just paddled the Panama Canal.
Yeah, that was probably the coolest thing I've ever done.
And I was like starstruck. I was like, wait a minute, what? People can do that? Like that is a thing? And you were telling me about the boats and what they're called, and I want to hear that again, because that's just so amazing.
Right, so they use cayucos, and that's a native Panamanian boat. And if you can imagine an outrigger canoe, like a 6-man outrigger canoe, it's actually, the cayucos are 4-man though.
Okay.
But picture your 6-man outrigger canoe, take the ama off of it, and now sit on the floor.
That sounds awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I would imagine.
Apparently some of the best paddlers, and I've just heard this, I've not seen it in action, but some of the best paddlers train by sitting on one of those big exercise balls.
Yeah, like the Bosa balls?
Yes. And then they put their feet on a basketball.
Oh,
so
wow.
Picture how hard that would be.
Oh, wow. Talk about a core workout.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
they're insane. It's great.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is a 3-day race that goes from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side. It's organized, I'm probably not going to get all the details right here, and I probably should have looked that up. But I believe it was started by the Boy Scouts down there.
Okay.
And the year that I did it was 2014.
Okay.
And that year was the 60th anniversary of the race.
Oh,
so it was a big, big event that year.
Yeah, and it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, and it was also that year happened to be the 100th anniversary of the canal. So it was another anniversary.
Man, that's amazing.
So I was very lucky to go that year.
Very.
The unlucky part was that they had the worst conditions that they've had in 60 years.
Like what? So what were the conditions?
Oh my gosh, windy and choppy. So imagine taking your outrigger canoe out with no ama in windy, choppy conditions.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Fun times.
Yeah, fun time. Okay, so they're called what again? Cayucos?
Cayuco, yes.
Okay.
Cayuco.
And there was something special about the paddle.
So the paddle has to be made from native Panamanian wood, and they're seriously the most beautiful things I've seen, like hands down, amazing. They look a lot like outrigger paddles, and you can get them customized in the sense of, double bend shaft or no bend, all that stuff. But there are certain guys in Panama that make them, and that's their craft. It's amazing. So right around the time of year of the Cayuco races, I would imagine they're super busy crafting these gorgeous paddles that are just, they're works of art. I mean, I was so proud to have mine and bring it back to the States. And they're shorter than an outrigger paddle.
You're not sitting up as high? Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't be able to use it for outrigger paddling.
Okay.
But I don't think I want to use it again. It's just so beautiful. Put it on my wall.
So tell me more about the actual race itself or the experience.
So the first day, we went out for a practice the day before, just to get used to our boat, because I had practiced with my crew up in Florida. But that wasn't our actual boat. It was just another boat that we were training in, just to get used to that feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm going to tip over.
Yeah, right.
So we went out the day before and practiced. I was lucky enough to get stung by a stingray that day. I couldn't believe it.
Seriously?
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, 40 some years living on the ocean as a California girl and had never been stung by a stingray. And I go down to Panama and get one right then.
Oh, man.
So it was all right. I survived,
You're here to tell the story,
obviously.
though. Yeah.
So the first day of the race, you start on the Atlantic side. It's a fairly short day. If I remember correctly, it's about 8 miles. We tipped once that day.
Okay.
Because of the wind.
Okay. So you have to get moving. I would assume it's very similar to like a giant surf ski.
Yeah, I've never been in a surf ski, but you've got 4 paddlers. You've got 2 are paddling on the left, 2 are paddling on the right. The person in the back is steering, but with their feet. There's like a little
there's like
paddle type thing.
Yeah, so it is. It's like a surf ski. Yeah, sounds like it.
Okay. And yeah, if one person's wiggling a little too much, you're tend to want to counter that wiggle, and then
and then the whole thing wobbles like a skateboard going fast downhill. Yeah,
that's a good analogy.
Yeah,
exactly. So our first day we tipped, but we managed to right ourselves. Excuse me, partly because we were close enough to a shallow spot that we could stand up and right it, bail the boat out, and hop back in and go. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people participate? I'm just trying to grab like a scope of it. Like how big is the actual race?
So the year that I went, there were 88 boats, and I think that's their limit. I don't think they allow. There's a certain cap. It's not just endless amounts of entrants.
Okay.
I believe they allow 11 boats that are international, so non-Panamanian racers. So we were one of the 11.
Okay.
Came down.
All right.
On my team were paddlers who had grown up in the canal zone of Panama, so they had raced in this race as high schoolers. It's very common that the high school teams race and quite often win because they're really, really good.
Oh wow, what a great thing for high schoolers to be doing.
Yeah. Jeez, imagine growing up doing that. So
yeah,
cool.
Right? That's fantastic. Okay, so
day two.
We
at the end of day 1, you take your boat out, you put it on the storage racks. It's got a number. You're assigned a number. You're assigned a location for your boat. So you're basically portaging your boat.
Got it.
So day 2, we're taking the boats to the boat launch, and the organizers say, "Be careful out there. It's really bad." I'm thinking, oh God, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And they were not lying.
Oh, geez.
It wouldn't be bad on an outrigger canoe. It wouldn't be bad at all.
Yeah.
But because it was a cayuco, and we weren't overly experienced my team had done it before, but they weren't like, these people that did it every single year.
Okay.
So we had our challenges for sure. And we were one of 33 boats that flipped over.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was a wet day.
Out of 18.
Sure.
And we got to the point we could not get our boat righted again. It was just, the waves were so choppy, the water was washing in, and the bow and stern of the cayuco is hollow, so the water just pours in and collects there.
Yeah, okay.
In hindsight, if we had known that this would happen, it would be nice to have like an air bladder or something to fill that spot so that the water couldn't get in there, or at least to keep it buoyant. But whatever, hindsight. We weren't planning on flipping.
Yeah, so exactly.
We're in this giant area called the Banana Channel.
Banana Channel. That's fantastic. Sorry.
And, no, it's great. I think it's Gatun Lake. And we flip over, one of many. And the organizers were not at all prepared for the amount of flipping that was going to be going on that day.
Sure.
And they didn't have enough chase boats or enough support boats. It was basically volunteers that had come out with their own motorboats that were kind of there to help out, but they were not planning on towing 33 boats back to shore.
Got it. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
It's really hard to get the boat righted. I would say the more professional of the type paddling crews could. Their boats flipped and they were able to bail quickly and get back in. And they had a lot more experience with doing that.
Sure.
My crew, not so much, but that's okay. We had fun.
Yeah.
So a chase boat came along and picked up our paddlers who were a little bit less of the strong swimming variety.
Okay.
Just so they wouldn't have to be in the lake. And that boat couldn't take our boat. They didn't have the capacity to drag our boat. So we had to wait. So it was me and 2 other people. We were hanging out in the Banana Channel for about an hour.
Oh, wow.
I can honestly say I've paddled and swam the Panama Canal.
Oh, wow. Oh, geez.
So lots of fun. Somebody told me there are crocodiles in there. I did not see one. I was not worried. You know.
Hopefully they told you that after.
No, they told me that going into it, but
Perfect.
you know, it's one of those things you can't really worry about. Are you going to worry about a shark and not go in the ocean? No. Right?
What do you do? Yeah, you just embrace that it's not your world. Exactly. So we swam and talked, and kept trying to keep the boat from drifting too far. Yeah.
One of the girls was an avid surfer, so she took advantage of the boat being upside down, and she stood on top of it and surfed a few waves.
That's fantastic. Talk about making the best of a weird situation.
Right, we had to, Yeah. And then, actually, speaking of making the best of it, this was really awesome. The boat that came by to pick us up, this is probably the coolest part of the story, if you're still hanging in there. The boat that came to pick us up grabbed us, tied our boat on, and dragged our boat. We caught up with a team that was a paraplegic team. So it was 4 paddlers that had the use of their upper body, but not their lower body. Actually, now that I think about it, I guess their steersman did. So 3 paddlers. Anyhow, they had managed to stay upright the entire race at this point.
Wow.
And while all 33 of us had flipped over.
Yeah.
So they were paddling. We caught up with them, and we used our boat kind of as a breakwater for them.
Oh, neat.
To protect them from the waves that were coming side on to them.
Oh, wow.
Throughout the rest of the course of that day.
Oh, wow.
And we were passing them water and whatnot. So it was neat to be there cheering. We were like their own personal cheering squad.
Yeah.
And seeing them in to the final stretch of day 2, which was really neat. So
that's
I was
fantastic.
honored to be part of that.
Yeah, I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
That was cool. So then we bring our boats in at the end of day 2, stay the night in the hotel, and then day 3 for me was the coolest day because I had never done it before. The people on my team were like, "Oh, it's the most boring day. You go through the locks." And I was like, "What?
The most boring?" Yeah.
It's like so cool.
It's so boring. You go through the locks.
Yeah, right? You're like, "Oh, it's just hot and it's boring. You just sit there." But me being brand new to this and having never seen the locks before.
Yeah, you're soaking the whole thing. Right. So tell me about day 3.
So they assign you a row in the locks, and it's based on your position in the race. We had flipped, so we were in row 11 or whatever the last row, row 8, because they did 8 rows of 11 boats.
Got it.
So we were in the back.
Got it.
Which provided a fabulous vantage because I could see all the other boats in front of us.
Yeah.
So they call you in to your row, and so row 1 all enters the lock. They hold on to each other, one next to the other. They run a rope from one side of the lock to the other side of the lock, and the person in the front, seat 1, holds the rope, and the person in the back holds a rope.
Oh, okay.
And those ropes are to keep you from getting sucked to the front of the lock when the water is all getting drained out. So you can imagine the current going by.
Yeah, I'm sure it's intense. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously intense. So then they call row 2 in, and row 2 gets aligned, and row 3, and so on. So we were in row 8 in the back. It takes about an hour, I think, for the water to drain out and you to get down to the next level. And then the gates get released and you paddle out. So you're in there for an hour. You have to put on a life vest in case, God forbid, you fall out of your boat and get sucked in with the water.
Oh, wow. Geez.
But it was like a party in there. It was amazing. So people brought water guns.
Oh, cool.
The guys up on the sides were throwing down oranges and fruit and stuff. People were creating these big water splashes and with their paddles and stuff. The photos from that day are amazing. Just the colors of all the boats, the colors of people's jerseys, the beautiful wood patterns on the paddles.
Oh, neat.
They're the most beautiful photos from that trip ever. I love that
fantastic. Day. Could we get some of those, and I'll put them in the show notes for people to see?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. How cool. Okay. Cool.
So we went through.
So you're hanging out.
I think.
Yeah. Water gun fight. I'm picturing that. A bunch of paddlers holding onto ropes, hanging out in the Panama Canal, having a water gun fight. What a cool idea. That's so cool.
It was pretty amazing, and I kept thinking, wow, they're serious about their paddling, but they're
Serious about their fun?
Right. They have just that streak of fun to bring along a water gun, and not one of those little tiny water pistols. Like, I'm talking like a super soaker where they can shoot the boat that's like 5 rows back, you know?
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Okay.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So then, we go through those 3 locks. I think it was 3 at that point. And then you paddle a little bit more. There's these giant shipping container barges on one side of you, and you're paddling, not that close, but it feels like you're close.
Sure.
And then you get to the end of the race, and there's all these people with signs and banners, and it's just really neat. It's just a big, amazing race in Panama that everyone is super supportive of. And it was a lot of fun. I had nobody there cheering me at the finish line, and yet I had everybody there cheering me at the finish line.
Yeah.
Because they're just cheering every boat that comes past the finish line. Like, yay, you did it. This was awesome. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And
so definitely the coolest experience I've ever had paddling, by far.
It's such a good story too. I can't wait to see the pictures, but I'm imagining these cayucos and all of the like fancy paint and these handcrafted paddles, and just it sounds like everybody gets involved in something like this. Like the whole place comes alive for this kind of thing. It's
definitely a cultural experience. And you mentioned the boats, and I forgot to talk about that as far as the painting goes. Every boat is privately owned, so it's got a name to the boat, it's got a painting on it of some sort, some much more elaborate than others. I remember one, the nose of the boat looked like a toucan. And
cool.
It's just gorgeous colors. So they're all named differently, and some have sponsors. It's seriously a color feast for the eyes.
Oh, what a great way to say it too. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. I like that story. Yeah.
It's fun.
But I'm going to put you on the spot here. Aside from paddling, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Aside from paddling and having that be a vehicle or an inspiration to take you around the world, you went around the world. You went around the world before. Kristin is sticking her tongue out at me, guys. You traveled before because
just a little bit.
Because you were a model, right?
Yes, I was. I was not. Well, okay, I have to admit to that. Yes, I was lucky enough to travel quite a bit. I was never anything super, but I did a lot of sports type modeling, a lot of ads for sports things. So, yes, but I don't tell anybody that. So,
okay, fine.
Shame on you.
Okay, but you did have a fun story about playing pool at Eddie Murphy's house. Is that real? Is that you're being serious?
Yeah, being serious. That's one of the greatest, when you go to the parties that people say like, oh, tell us one fact that nobody knows about you. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good one.
Okay, so one fact that nobody knows about you is?
Yeah, so when I was in college at UCLA, one of the girls that I modeled with was friends with Eddie Murphy, shall we say, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe the best way to put it. We were at the Roxbury Club, which I think shut down and then is open again, I believe.
Okay.
Could be wrong. I think it's open again. Yeah. Roxbury on Sunset.
Okay.
In the VIP area there. And I was like a college student that was, the best way to put it is I was surface modeling. I wasn't like in that world completely.
Got it.
I was doing it alongside getting my degree at UCLA. So this was a world that I hadn't really gotten into, going to the Roxbury and that whole thing. I was more like, I'm going to go home and study. So one night I find myself at the Roxbury with this girl, and I'm like, what the heck? And we end up leaving there and going to Eddie Murphy's house for a party, which again, I'm like, what? How did I end up here? So I played pool at Eddie Murphy's house. I played against Michael Buffer, who I did not know who he was at the time. There were a lot of people there who I did not know who they were, and later I found out.
Who is Michael Buffer? I don't know.
He is the guy who coined the term "Let's get ready to rumble."
Oh, really?
And he introduces all the Mike Tyson fights and I guess.
Oh, got it. Did you? Did he? I just gotta like, you're playing pool before you started. Did he say that?
No,
because that would have been amazing.
He should have.
Right? He's like, "Do you want to play pool?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then he says it, and that's fantastic. Oh,
that would have been totally awesome. No, I didn't even know who he was. Like, okay, I will admit to being kind of an idiot when it comes to fame and famous people and whatnot. Like, I met Heavy D. Remember Heavy D?
Yeah, Heavy D.
Okay, so he was in the kitchen at Eddie Murphy's house And I had no idea who he was.
Right.
And the caretaker at Eddie Murphy's house was like, Kristin, you know who Heavy D is? And me being shy, I'm like looking at the ground and I go, I've heard of him. And Heavy D looks at me and goes, I ain't never heard of you.
Oh, man.
I was like,
oh, that's funny.
So, yeah, I'm not really like in the know when it comes to celebrities, I will admit. So I'm playing pool with Michael Buffer, and I didn't know who he was. And actually, he ended up driving me home because the friend that I went to Eddie Murphy's house with disappeared.
Oh, no. Okay.
No idea what happened to her that night.
Right.
She disappeared. And it was like 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And little me, who, let me just get for the record, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, nothing. So I'm like the major sober one at this party.
Right.
And it's 5 a.m. and I've been playing pool with this guy who I don't know who he is. And he says, well, you know, if you want, I can give you a ride home. Because we're up in the Hollywood Hills or Bel Air, I think we were.
Okay.
I don't know. What am I going to do? Walk home? You know, the bus doesn't go by Eddie Murphy's house, I'm pretty sure. So he gave me a ride, and I just had to trust this person. I had no idea who he was. Yeah. I just had to trust that he was a nice guy and not going to take advantage of this little college student. So he's dropping me off at my dorm in UCLA, my dorm.
Oh, wow.
And on the ride, we started talking, and I asked him what he did. Like, what is your job? What do you do? And he told me that he announces the Mike Tyson fights. Well, it still didn't mean anything to me at that point. I didn't watch boxing. I wasn't big on that.
Okay.
And later I asked somebody, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's Michael Buffer." He's like, the let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I've heard that."
Yeah. How funny.
So, yeah, but he was such a gentleman. Dropped me off at my dorm.
Nice.
Gave me a sweet kiss on the cheek, I think, or the hand, like very, gentlemanly. Like, I would like to thank him for that if he ever is listening to a podcast by Cali Paddler.
I love it.
He was wonderful. It made an impression on me. Nice gentleman.
Thank you for indulging the fun side of some of the cool things that you've done. So,
bizarre stories.
Yeah, rollerblade and Gatorade, right? That's who you modeled for.
Yep. I did a TV ad for Gatorade that aired in Brazil.
Oh, cool.
Basically, we got to play volleyball for 3 days on Zuma Beach. So.
Oh, geez, wow.
Yeah, and get paid for it. Okay.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, game. Yeah. Okay, so that's super fun. Yeah, that's super fun.
And rollerblade, I got to rollerblade for I think 2 days doing a shoot. That was an ad campaign that they had for their new rollerblades back in the mid '90s.
Okay.
And actually, here's a really cool little fun fact.
All right.
That ad, so they did a series of ads. One of those ads ran in Rolling Stone magazine, the same issue that one of my brother's ads was in Rolling Stone. So my brother is a graphic designer. He used to design ads for No Fear. Do you remember that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so he was their graphic designer for years.
Wow, how neat.
And so my parents had both of their kids in Rolling Stone, the same issue.
That's so good.
Cool.
Yeah, you could probably never predict or even imagine that. That's so cool.
No,
you have the issue, right?
Plan it.
Yeah, you have the issue, don't you? I hope. Like 4 or 5 copies.
I do have the issue, but I don't know where it is right now, but I have it.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so we got a little tangent-y, but I think it's fantastic anyway. Let's come back to the Dragon Boat world, if we could. One of the things that I thought would be you would have some insight into. I'm curious to know who are some of your heroes or icons or mentors in the Dragon Boat world. People that you're inspired by or excited about.
Big questions. Well, there's a lot of them. When I was just in Florida, I was in a very small dragon boating community because in Florida, the paddling world it's starting to grow. But at the time I started, it wasn't as big. And so we always looked up to coaches that came down, typically from Canada, to coach us. And we learned from them. So now that I'm up in Toronto I'm training with one of the national team coaches, Chris Edwards. He's amazing.
Oh, you are now, right now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Great. Oh, wow.
We're doing winter training. Don't worry, we're not on the water yet. It's a little cold. So we're indoors at the paddle pool and doing paddle erg sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I've been coached in a lot of different sports in my life. I grew up playing baseball and soccer and volleyball, and I had a lot of different coaches. So I can honestly say that Chris Edwards is an amazing coach. I look up to him a lot. He's been an amazing mentor, and I'd probably hang on every word he says.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Because he has a lot of good insights. He has amazing analogies. He'll explain things 12 different ways to make sure that we understand it. And that's great. Scott Murray is another fabulous coach up here that I've been lucky enough to work with a little bit. And Jim Farintosh is a legend in the paddling community here in Canada and I think worldwide. And he runs a camp in Melbourne, Florida. And last year I was honored to be asked to coach at that camp.
Oh, wow. How cool.
He added me to his staff for he calls it Bow Wave. It's Bow Wave Camp or
cool.
Clinic. And it runs for 3 weeks in April. So I'll be actually driving down to Florida next week to go coach at his camp for 2 weeks.
Oh, neat. You're excited about that, I can see.
Super excited, yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's neat because you get together with, I met a lot of other coaches that I wouldn't have met otherwise. Some from Dartmouth up here in Canada, some from Vancouver, and, OC coaches as well as dragon boat coaches, because he does an outrigger component as well. So people can learn how to get on 1- and 2-man outriggers.
Got it.
So I met all these amazing coaches that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. Albert McDonald, Tim Schaus, Don and Trevor run the OC camp, and they're amazing. Anthony Sword. And then I work with some of the coaches that I knew from the States, Megan Kress and Joanne Fegley, Hype. They're fabulous coaches. It's just fun. It was really neat. Last year we were all in the coach's apartment, and it's like just kind of like nerdy camp for coaches, because you're just bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah, what a great energy.
Yeah, over dinner, there's 6 or 8 of us sitting there in the apartment talking about, okay, I have this paddler that keeps doing this. How can I work with him or her to fix this? And it's just all this amazing nerdy paddle energy coming together and synthesizing and working things out. And I was in heaven. I was absolutely in heaven. So I would say that all of those people are my mentors, and I look up to them all.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but paddlers listening, are probably pretty inspired by the fact that you guys, all of our coaches, get together and try to help each other become better, which only makes all of us better as a whole. That's so cool to hear.
I think that's one of the unique things about Jim's camp is that the coaches are working together, because so often, it's a competitive sport. I'm not going to lie. So if you're talking about someone's home team, that coach is less likely to share ideas, strategies, etc. with another team in the area or other team that they might be competing against. So there's a lot less communication going on. Whereas at a camp, where your boat is not what you're competing with necessarily, there's no competition there, and so there's no reason. Collaboration is the key, not competition.
I love that. Collaboration is the key, not competition. That's so good. We all get ahead when we do that.
Indeed.
Yeah, we all get ahead. How fun. Okay, that's so good. I'm just soaking it all in. So we're coming kind of towards the end, but I wanted to ask, what would you say to newbies who are curious about Dragon Boat?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, what would be your advice or your mentorship or your guiding light to newbies who are curious to Dragon Boat?
I even wrote a whole blog post on that.
Did you?
Yes, my advice to my newbie self, I think it was titled.
Oh, I love it. Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I can't quote it off the top of my head right now, but the things that come to mind, like I said, my first day out, I was like, oh my gosh, everything hurts. Obviously my arms hurt because I didn't know how to paddle and I was using my arms. And I was mortified that I kept banging into the person in front of me because I was watching my own paddle instead of paying attention to timing. All those little things that you're very self-conscious about when you first hop on a boat with everyone. And the thing is, we all started somewhere. We all had to learn to paddle. Now, most of us did it as an adult, but, well, I shouldn't say most of us. Many of us in the dragon boating community did it. We learned how to paddle as an adult. We weren't fortunate enough to learn at a young age. So we were maybe more aware or self-conscious of that learning process and the learning curve. I think when you learn a sport as a young child, you aren't as self-conscious. You just kind of go with it and make your mistakes, and who cares? But as an adult, we're aware of that. So I would say to just understand that everybody's been there at some point, and don't worry about those mistakes you're making. Just learn from them and allow yourself to make those mistakes. And also to focus on one thing at a time, because as we all know, when you start thinking about, your top hand, then, your bottom elbow goes to crap or your timing gets lost or whatever. The minute you focus entirely on one thing to work on that or improve it, everything else kind of falls apart as you're developing your skills. And it's a lifelong learning opportunity, I think. Nobody's a perfect paddler. We've all got stuff to learn. So be patient with yourself and enjoy the process.
Yeah, enjoy the process. What about from a cultural perspective for people who are maybe new to it from that aspect as well?
Ooh, cultural aspect. Well, we talked about tribe. I think if you get with the right team, they really become your family. And that's one of the coolest aspects of dragon boating, in my opinion. Yeah, I love the workout. Yeah, I love being on the water. But I also love the fact that I've got a team. Right now, I'm training with a team up here in Toronto. That's the Outer Harbor Senior Women. They're amazing.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
I really count them among some of my closest friends. It's a team of about 28 women who I could call on any of them if I had a problem.
That's awesome.
They're amazing. And we look out for each other, and it's a good feeling to have. And I think that that's the cultural aspect of the team. It really brings people together.
Yeah, I think it's the same in dragon boat as it is in outrigger, as it even things like SUP are individual, yet the collective is so bonded and strong.
Indeed, it's a shared mentality, and that's what bonds us, I think.
Mm-hmm. I love it. What was it like I'm having this thought. What was it like to go to these other countries where this sport is so rooted in history and participate? Wow. Well,
that's a deep question. Let's see. So is that what you meant by cultural aspect, and I took it the wrong way?
No. That's a secondary piece. Yeah.
All right, you scared me.
No.
Misinterpreted the question.
No. The culture of dragon boat is what it. No, you got it exactly right. It just it led to this one where I'm like, oh, but like, what's it like to play soccer in Brazil, like that kind of thing, right? Like we're
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Wow, I know people that have traveled in China and raced in some of the very, very traditional races. So traditional that apparently the men race on one boat and the women race on another boat, and they don't have mixed crews, or the women just don't race at all because it's very much a men's thing. That's like the fishermen are racing. That would be really amazing to see. I have not been to those type of races.
Okay.
But in Hong Kong, for example, that's very much a tradition, part of their culture for sure. And it's neat to see that side of it where everybody's participating and there are spectators. I have an amazing photo. I don't know if I can find it to share it with you, but I can picture it if that counts.
Yeah, of
and
course.
It's about 6 or 7 guys who are on their break at lunch who are wearing hard hats still. They were construction workers, and they're on their scaffolding taking a break watching the dragon boat races that we were participating in.
Oh, cool.
Because it's such a cultural thing. They have giant grandstands there to watch the races in Hong Kong, whereas you go to a race in Florida, and I don't even know that they put up grandstands because it's just not really a spectator sport.
Yeah.
It's not part of our culture here.
Yeah.
So it's neat that there it's a big deal. We got off the plane in Hong Kong, and there are advertisements for the dragon boat races.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. We're all taking our pictures with it going, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, that is cool.
And then everywhere around town in the area were signs advertising for the races.
Oh, wow.
So it's a whole different world because, definitely in Florida, it's more of just a local thing and all right, there's a dragon boat race this weekend.
Yeah. Huh. So it's more ingrained in society. Yeah, I would imagine that's what it would be like, and that was the perspective I was looking for too. Well, my goodness, you have got some serious stories. This is so much fun, and I know that people are going to dig this. I want them to be able to connect with you some more. So how can people find you and get to start reading more of your posts and hopefully meet you in person maybe?
So my blog is paddlechica.com.
Okay.
And they can contact me on that. I also have a Facebook page, Paddlechica, obviously. I have an Instagram account, Paddlechica, and Twitter as well, although I will admit to not being as good about Twitter. I'm still, I think, figuring Twitter out. Shame on me.
It's okay. I think you've got a few other channels that are pretty significant for people to know what's going on. So
I've got the Facebook thing down. I have kids who are advising me on the Instagram thing.
Love it.
Sometimes I think I'm too old for that too, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And then I'll also, like I said, I'll be coaching at Jim's camp in Melbourne the 16th of April through the 30th, I believe, or 29th.
Okay. Is the camp full, or do you know if the camp's...
Last I heard that week one, which I won't be at week one, but week one had space, but they can always contact Jim if they're interested. Well, they can look on my Facebook page. Actually, I put up an ad for Jim's camp. So
okay, perfect.
The information is there.
Cool. Okay, cool.
And then I'll be racing in Canada this summer. I'll be at a bunch of different races in Canada, in Lachine, near Montreal, in the Great White North Challenge race in Toronto, and the Great White North Sport race. And nationals as well in Welland. So my team is hoping to go to nationals, so then we can go on to Hungary, to club crew races in 2018.
Oh wow, how cool! You've got a whole stack of fun happening.
Super excited about that. Life is an adventure. You got to take advantage of it.
I love it. It's so good. Well, I want to thank you for making some time all the way up north to reconnect with your SoCal roots and chat with me here today. It's been an honor.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to see the things that you're doing, and I know that it's inspiring to others, myself included, and I can't wait to see some of the pics from the Panama Canal and be able to share those with people and just put people in contact with you, because I think that you have a great energy and a great spirit for the sport, especially what I gather is for newbies as well as, experienced people. You bring a perspective that's enlightening. So I love it. I just love it. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for hanging out with us. Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts? Cali Paddler is amazing. I'm so glad that we met. You guys are like my West Coast peeps. You're awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's super cool. Thank you.
I wear my Cali Paddler sweatshirt with pride here in Toronto. I love it.
I love it. Okay.
So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I had a good time.
Will you come back after Absolutely. You have some more adventures and stuff and share?
Definitely. I'll be in California the last 2 weeks in August. I'll actually be there for my birthday. We'll have to meet up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sounds good. I would love it.
Kristin, thank you again. And I will obviously in the show notes put people in contact with how to get a hold of you. And to the Paddlers Pulse people out there, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I did. And we will see you on the water.
Thanks for dropping by to listen in. You, yes you, are the great people that bring paddling to life. Join us next time, and please don't keep us a secret. Like us on iTunes, share with your buddies, and keep the Paddlers Pulse pumping. See you on the water.